The best of money matters. Right Business.
Welcome to The Right Business, where we dive deep into the stories of trailblazers who dare to disrupt the status quo, find the gap in the market to find the right business. Hello, I'm Hongbin Jeong. Now, as financial institutions invest in new platforms, it becomes necessary to make them accessible for every user, regardless of disability conditions. Audax is a Singapore-based banking-as-a-service firm dedicated to democratizing digital banking services and transforming the financial landscape. With a vision to make advanced banking solutions more accessible, Audax empowers banks and financial institutions to rapidly scale, modernize, and innovate. And at the heart of the company's mission is a commitment to inclusivity, ensuring that underserved customer segments have access to the digital financial services they need. Well, to find out more, joining us today is Kelvin Tan, who is the CEO of Audax. Kelvin, welcome to the show.
Hi, Hongbin. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you so much for joining us, Kelvin. Now, Audax Financial Technology is a comprehensive digital banking solutions provider, empowering banks and financial institutions to scale and modernize at speed. So what was the impetus for founding Audax? Was there a particular gap in the market that you wanted to bridge in the banking industry?
Absolutely. Audax was conceptualized as part of Standard Chartered to begin with, and we were trying to solve a very specific problem for a global bank, which is the fact that it was extremely expensive to create scalable financial solutions for underbanked markets or unbanked markets and allow for banks like Standard Chartered to bank customers at scale profitably. And therefore, as part of creating the platform internally within the bank, we thought that it would make a lot more sense to spin it out as a separate entity and offer these services to banks around the world to really democratize the access to banking services by enabling banks around the world to offer scalable financial solutions to large developing countries at massive scale and provide ability for individuals to access those services outside of Standard Chartered Bank. And that's the reason for existence for Audax.
I see. So how does the Audax, differentiate itself in the crowded fintech market? What are the key competitive advantages that you believe Audax has that outperforms other fintech startups?
Actually, if you think about it, are not too many similar offerings around the world. Audax is a technology company that sells to banks, that allows banks to offer these capabilities to the market at large. Most fintech startups approach the market directly. So they offer loans directly to the consumers, or they go and create loans and then sell their balance sheet or offload their balance sheet off to a bank. Most players don't play in this space, and the players that do play in this space tend to be very, very young and generally not backed by a global bank. And because we are backed by a global bank, Audax, fortunately, has to then go through a massive rigmarole of compliance requirements, regulatory tests, stress testing, platform security testing, and so on and so forth. So from that perspective, we are proven and secure and globally compliant.
I see. Well, then, talk to us about that journey Audax went from its initial corporate venture stage to now becoming a major player in the fintech industry. What strategies were most crucial in scaling the company from its early venture stages to its current market position?
I think first and foremost, we needed to deliver well for Standard Chartered Bank in the regions that we have delivered them. Because the reality is most banks are extremely risk averse, and rightly so, because of the nature of their business. And as they are risk averse, we need to establish the fact that we can deliver in a multinational, heavily compliant and heavily regulated industry. Once we've delivered the capability within Standard Chartered at scale and massively stable and reliable, then we have the use case and the credibility to go into market. I think that was number one. Number two, we were also extremely circumspect in terms of our ability to partner with some of the most influential partners out there, right? The consultants that advise banks on the best strategies moving forward, as well as the integrators and the delivery teams of players like Simpulse, for example, who are our partners, who bring us to customers and say, hey, by the way, guys, there is a globally reliable platform solution provider that has been proven, and in this model, there ain't that many players around.
I see. So can you discuss any partnerships or collaborations that were pivotal to Audax's success in entering new markets or even expanding your customer base?
I think all our partnerships have been very useful in getting access to the customers that we have gotten access to. The publicly available ones are Thought Machine, Toom, as well as Simpulse and Paymentology. Those are all technology companies that sell to banks or services companies that sell to banks, all of whom are in the best place to advise banks on what exactly are the best solutions out there for the banks who want to move into scalable financial services, either in multi-country or in single country, with various forms of scalable financial services such as banking as a service or a digital bank or embedded finance or a super app strategy.
Oh, I see. Well, do you think digital banking and fintech innovations like those offered by Audax have, the potential to equalize economic inequalities in society?
Well, absolutely. Now, take, for example, the capability that we have delivered for Standard Chartered in Indonesia. We see that from Standard Chartered Indonesia's perspective, almost 80% or 90% of the customers that they have acquired via these capabilities and channels, previously unbanked or underbanked in the second, third tier cities in Indonesia that Standard Chartered would have never reached anyway. So from their perspective, from the consumer's perspective, they don't have bank accounts or have very little interaction with banking purely because the distance between them and their bank branches are too big.
Right.
You don't walk there. But in this case, we allowed for Standard Chartered to plug themselves into an existing ecosystem. In Indonesia's case, it was an e-commerce platform called Bukalapak, who already have 100 million users on their platform. And those users therefore became customers of Standard Chartered Bank through that arrangement, which they wouldn't have been able to do. Standard Chartered Bank would not have been able to do without a scalable platform on the back end.
Right. I see. So what ethical considerations come into play then when developing financial technologies, and how does Audax address these concerns?
I think what we need to ensure, for example, is the ability for us to have a comprehensive security screening capability on the platform that allows for banks to configure and monitor against things like fraud, as well as international money transfers, any kind of unethical lending, predatory lending, for example, or the ability to understand the customers better because of the comprehensiveness of the data that they can run on the platform, to be able to underwrite customers without having to overprice them.
Well, Kelvin, I want to take some time and know more about you as well. I mean, as you mentioned, you transitioned from leading Standard Chartered Nexus, the bank's pioneering banking as a service platform, to founding a venture, right, called Audax. So could you share a little bit more about your background in corporate leadership and what ultimately motivated you to take the leap from a corporate environment to starting your own company?
I don't really know about my background as a corporate leader, so to speak, but I've had a, shall we say, history of trying to do things against the grain, right? So I started out as a political science major, decided to go into banking versus going into the foreign service. Let's start with that. Decided to move into greenfield consumer finance in Indonesia way back then, before things were sexy from an ethical finance standpoint. And then moved into corporate banking, moved into consulting, moved into retail banking again. And 6 years ago came up with this idea and brought it away. So for me, my primary motivations generally, professionally speaking, has always been to try to do something that people think either ridiculously difficult to do or unlikely to ever be achieved. So that was my primary motivation, and that's how we got onto this journey. And the poor people who have followed me on this journey, this crazy journey of mine, to get us to this point whereby we are now spun out. We are now a separate entity. We have quite a few bank clients, some of whom will be announced over the course of the next couple of months. And they are all large, great financial services players around the world.
You just sound like a risk taker to me. Well, how did your experiences then prepare you for the challenges of leading a startup, you think?
I would actually say failure is a very big, not motivator, but a big ability creator for me. I've failed many times in my career. I forget my career, I failed many times in life in general, right? From my PSLE scores to my A-level scores to some parts of my university to professionally moving into consumer, having met setbacks along the way. What it's really created, and this is something that I've learned from a lot of my friends who are either startup founders or who are investors, is that the one defining factor of success, forget success, the one defining factor of long-term potential is the ability of someone who is leading a startup to have the resilience to bust through walls, fall down, get smacked, get up and keep going. And for me, I like to think that that is a defining personality characteristic of mine. I'm happy to be corrected if that's not the case.
That's a great personality to have. I mean, people should not be afraid of their failures and learn from their failures. You don't know where those failures can lead you to. And Kelvin, now you're the CEO of Audax. So on that note, what is your overall vision for the future of digital banking in 2025 and beyond? What do you see as the most significant opportunities opportunities for digital banks in the next decade, and what challenges do you anticipate?
I actually think that the most progressive banks that embark on their journey of digitization and creating the ability to ingest and make sense of metadata becomes very important. Why do I say that, right? My view is that banks will not, or unlikely, move away from their roles as the custodian of security and data, and of course your money at the underlying all of that. But the ability of the banks to be the central nervous system by collaborating with multiple partners, embedding themselves in multiple ecosystems, ingesting all that information and doing real-time analytics and providing services as well as preemptive capabilities, and on the back end allow for the service providers such as advertising firms or McDonald's for that instance come in and provide those services through a bank ecosystem which has access to all of that information becomes quite interesting. My view of the bank of the future is actually one that is completely invisible. You don't even know that you're banking with the bank, but they have access to everything, and they are the central nervous system that accesses all the ecosystems around you while you use various other apps, ride-hailing or travel or food delivery, but continues to be using the singular bank account and their services behind it.
I see. Well, speaking of the future here, Kelvin, before we let you go, as Audax looks toward the future, what is the next big goal for the company in terms of innovation, market expansion, or new product offerings?
Right. So Audax is a full end-to-end bank-in-the-box stack already as it is today for retail and some parts of the SME solution. We are going to build out our SME solution across the course of 2025 because we have a few clients that do want it. And beyond that, we are enhancing our artificial intelligence capability in terms of testing, regression testing, as well as real-time compliance as code. So all of that basically means that our clients are able to access and configure the platform for whatever is real-time compliance in their markets, rather than what happens today, which is a extremely manual process with compliance officials as well as manual reporting to be able to come together and go to the regulator to seek clearances for various things. So that's at least in our short-term roadmap, and our expansion plans are actually quite interesting from a geography standpoint. We have a client in the Middle East, we have clients in Singapore, we have a client in, very recently, Japan. So we are hoping to basically deepen our client base in the Middle East and ASEAN, as well as potentially in Japan once we've executed for the one client there.
I see. Well, thank you so much, Kelvin, for joining me today.
All right. Thank you for having me here, Hongbin.
Thank you. We've been speaking to Kelvin Tan, who is the CEO of Audax. This has been The Right Business with me, Hongbin Jeong.
To listen to more great interviews, download our podcasts at audio.sg or download the audio app. That's AWEDIO, audio at the App Store and Google Play.